Yep. I think if nothing else, it's the day one of any new league is always chaotic because it's a settling period, right? You get to see what teams are made of, all that prep work they've done. I was referencing on SAL broadcast over the weekend that we've had coaches say, look, realistically, 8 or so games, 9 games determine what happens to the rest of your year. What you don't see behind it is the hundreds and hundreds of scrims that take place, all the hours that these guys put into the game, blood, sweat, and tears. It all is in preparation for moments like this. For some of these players, it's a big step up for them. They've got a real deliver here today. It's, of course, mixed round of a lot of rosters as well. It's going to be chaotic, Tim, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, absolutely not. Just to give anybody who's joined us slightly after the start of things there, if you've missed the wonderful Fresh and Alfama, and first of all, what were you doing? Make sure you don't miss them in future. But they give us a quick rundown of these teams. So if you're wondering who are Gen.G, who are MACKO, what's going on, Gen.G is basically a big chunk of what was the ENCE roster last year. They've been joined by a couple of new players. And then we've also got MACKO, who are an Italian team who've been grinding through T2 for, it seems like the longest time, Des. They've been at the tippy top of T2 for absolutely ages. They've finally got their shot. Are they going to deliver?
You'd hope so as well. Of course, both mentioning two of the players on this Gen.G side coming over from Wolves as well.
Yep.
On MACKO, as makers back in the day. So there's definitely a lot of experience on both teams, but it's when you start mixing and matching players across different rosters that things start to either go exceptionally well or they can crumble and further changes than need later in the year. Of course, neither roster wanted to be in that position. But let's get locked in on the game, Tim. Here we go with our first round down in the basement. And I'm not looking at chat, but I can fully imagine many are wondering when does Stomping play next game. Don't worry, we'll have a conversation about that when the time comes around. For now, we've got to see what happens here.
We will keep you fully updated on Stomp and Watch. Don't you worry. We've got it. One of the things I've noticed that it's not. Oh, we've got an opening kill. That's more important than what I was going to say. Ghost comes straight in. It's his first ever tier 1 game, and it's his first ever entry kill. Des, boom, takes out Skies. That's your Ash gone. That's your entry sorted. MACKO with a great start for the Roamers there.
What's a really interesting thing about Ghost, he is the entry fragger for this team. You might be looking at him saying, Castle, an entry fragger? It works, it's legit, trust me. But he is the entry player for this team, and he hasn't really got a lot of history behind him, only really about 6 months or so of seeing him have a team history when you look into what he's been doing. And so at a point here, like a Ghost, he may well just be coming in and spooking the competition, Tim. Started himself out with the entry onto the Ash, certainly not a bad one to pick up, and now it's about wasting time. We've still got half the round to play. A phone call coming in from Deadshot on that Dokkaebi, trying to give his team some way forward here, but by the looks of it, they'll find nothing.
I mean, I'm wondering, is it Gen.G just thinking, let's get super aggressive round 1? You know, MACKO kind of welcome to big school. Gen.G are certainly the team with more tier 1 experience, but MACKO have stood up fantastically well to that. We're now a minute 30, just over that, through the round, and there's no giving them whatsoever. They've got themselves back to sight, but Teb, he's still hidden away in strip. Do they know he's here? If not, that Scorpos is going to do some serious damage.
They knew he was there because they were taking shots at him earlier on, so they know that he's in this area, and that's why I think he's tucked in here. Doesn't want to expose himself. He's just here to try and waste a little bit of time. For now, at the very least, though, MACKO can just sit in pretty comfortable and wait to see what happens next. On your scale of bothered, Tim, I think they're growing in the amount of how bothered they are. But as it stands, they're waiting to see a move come in. And sure enough, I mean, NACO's just gone and dropped himself in there and given himself away for free. Azox is there to capture off the back of it as well. So it's far from the end of the world. In fact, even makes it a second. It's 3 versus 3, and we've got 30 seconds to go.
MACKO just giving a few opportunities to Gen.G here. Feel like peeking out from behind boxes when you know somebody's on that kitchen hatch. They're looking at it again. You got to stop looking at it. You don't want to be losing anymore, but there you go. I'm proved wrong. Snadora manages to get Azox taken out. Big star. Asa onto Dora as well, but here comes Teb. I called it from strip. Was going to be important. Can he have the impact? Oh, that's a big mistake coming in from Deadshot there, getting caught out, but Teb on the Claymore. Des, it was an end of a round littered with mistakes. Teb runs into a Claymore, Deadshot runs into a cap can trap. That should have been really winnable for MACKO from that position, I think.
That was an interesting first round to start things off. I thought the way that the roam was played and the way that the attackers got themselves set up was good. Everything kind of started to fall apart once we started looking at the site, though. I wasn't quite sure on NACO's sudden random dropping towards Kitchen. Hatch, was he trying to catch them by surprise? Did he not know that a player was in deep Arsenal? Because that was a questionable moment. Lucky that Azox managed to get a couple back, but ultimately it was down to Acer there at the end, netting up with 4K, I think, come the end of it. And has really got his team running. Okay, 2 kills he's got here, but I think it was 2 extra completions off the back of that as well. Still, it's first round to Gen.G. Honestly, not a line I thought I'd ever say in Siege, by the way. I was saying this on social media earlier, like Gen.G for me are an organization that I know very well from a history in League of Legends. So it's dead weird seeing them here in Siege. It's really cool because they're such a prestigious organization, but it's going to take a bit of time and a little bit of fangirling to get used to saying Gen.G on a broadcast.
I mean, we've got a couple of things going on that are, you know, like you say, we've got that big org comes in, very exciting for EML. But look at the opposite end of the day as well, and I'm sure the desk will talk about this, but Wild, of course, Academy roster coming through. You know, the first time we've seen that process in Tier 1 tonight as well. So all sorts of stuff, and we've got a reasonably big creator in Game 2, I believe, as well, Des. You know, there's all sorts of things going on. All sorts of things. Stomp and watch. All sorts of things are going on all over the league tonight, and it is super, super exciting. But back to this one. Gen.G managed to pick up that first round. It's 1-0, and we move into round 2. We're going to see MACKO up onto that top floor this time around. Just gonna, it now seems to be such a standard default thing that, you know, we just move around sites. Win or lose, you just move on and go to your next site. And I really think it's a good idea. I like the psychology of it.
What I love for this one, though, Tim, is look at the lineup coming out of Matt. I mean, look at the way that we're even approaching getting in towards, like, sight here, making sure that wall is cleared off. You know, getting in below with his Zofia to blow it away. You've got yourself a Doc playing inside of Rafters with Lamai and Jaeger setting up in there. I feel like we've wound back the clock like 3 years or so. It's brilliant.
It certainly looks that way. Deadshot's just going to be holding that long angle now then. I think that's a little bit of a mistake on the side. Yep, they're going at it again at the bottom. So this is a really difficult thing Gen.G are trying to do. Trying to basically do what you do with the Maverick trick, where you take off the top and bottom of the barricade in the right area, and it will then remove the whole barricade. Going to try it again on the left-hand side there. But yeah, it's a really tricky one. You've got to get them exactly right with these X-Kairos pellets. And if you don't, you'll just be left with a little hole top and bottom. So we'll see how that one develops, whether they manage to get that wall open or not, but it could be a real stumbling block for them because there's halfway through the round. It's only just been opened if it is open, and they haven't even started on Rafters yet.
No, but look at this. The Monty is in. He's starting his march on forward. Of course, not forgetting that Jaeger's ADSs now also catch those Capital bolts. They're going to have to dump a lot of utility up here. That first flash has come on through and already been pinged out by the ADS. Not forgetting it. We'll get a recharge on there. They've got to make sure they're trying to make something move here. Not yet managing to force the player away. For now, at least, Nora managed to hold tight. Aki's got one onto Deadshot elsewhere at the same time, keeping things pretty balanced. But here we go. The march on begins. Sky's getting rid of Aki is huge because now there's no extra support for Nora. Now down he goes. 3 players have fallen. It's a 4 versus 2. Surely Gen.G stay on top in this round.
Yeah, that's great for them. Getting those couple of kills, particularly clearing Rafters out. Even though they haven't got that CCTV wall, it should be winnable from here. 4 versus 2. 30 seconds left to go. They can start pressuring Red Stairs as well. Flashes raining up, a lot of utility there. Lolo's going to get taken out, almost certainly. That's round over. Gen.G, really nice attack, especially having not opened CCTV wall. They need to go back to the drawing board. They need a little bit more practice with that Hibana work in getting those reinforcements cleared off, but it does still allow a good line of sight. If you've got the holes at the bottom, Deadshot's out there on rappel, he gets a nice clean line of sight into CCTV, and by opening that wall, what you're really wanting to do is prevent any defenders from playing inside of CCTV, and the holes will pretty much do that anyway.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a good start for them, to be fair, Tim. Admittedly, when I was looking at the lineup coming in, I was doing a big thread about this earlier on social media. I was just like, looking at it, MACKO probably come in as a slightly stronger team. Like, not at all to say that Gen.G are bad. Like, I think their lineup is still pretty strong. And this sounds quite harsh, but in a way, it was kind of partially the rejects of other teams. It was Ents who had a pretty rough stage overall. It was a couple of players from Wolves who didn't follow the rest of the organization on their move over towards BDS. So quite understandably, you look at it and say, oh, well, it's the bottom of those teams. It's not going to be the strength that maybe you're expecting to see form a bit of a super team under an organization like Gen.G. But as things have started out, they look really solid on the attacking side. Yeah, the first round was a little bit chaotic on the drop, but we just finished casting the SALs, and I think it's fair for us to say, Tim, on day one, we saw some of our top teams have very questionable first 2 or 3 rounds to really get themselves into a game. W7M's first round was an absolute car crash, but after that, they warmed into things and really showed what they could do. Right now, Gen.G are onto this game far quicker than what MACKO are.
I think that's the key takeaway from the first couple of rounds that we've seen so far, is Gen.G just adapting quicker. But that being said, said it at the beginning, I'll say it again, they've got a lot more tier 1 experience, probably, you know, a little bit fewer nerves in the team. It's not as big a deal necessarily. MACKO have their share of it, don't get me wrong, but for at least 2 players there, it's their real first experience at this sort of level. And, you know, you come in, the game is fast, the game is hard, and you will be punished for mistakes, and MACKO have been so far. On the defense, it's not an ideal start for them. Clubhouse attack, it's definitely a doable thing, so it's not the end of the world for MACKO, but they need, I would say, a 3-3 split before they're coming into the attack, so it's time to start winning some rounds now.
It is. Can't be letting them get away with a 3-0 attack to start things off. It would be painful. However, for now, let's see how we get things going onto the clear, starting to go into this ground floor. This is where things are going pretty well last time round. It was actually an early entry that came in that we saw looking pretty good for Ghost for the most part. Off the back of that, let's go. Things started to look very messy for both sides. So I'm hoping to see here a little bit more coordination from Gen.G when the drop comes on through. They were fortunate to be able to get a couple of kills from Azox through the hatch previously and through the soft flooring. Outside of that, I think it might have been a round that could have gone at MACKO's way. Dora's looking real close here, really fancying his chance of taking a bite out of this Gen.G lineup, but he's got to find the chance to do it. Don't think he'll be able to find it. A C4 up and over, and sure enough, we'll get rid of MACKO. You're about to see the environment to go off as well, but look at this. He is so dug in here, does not want to move away.
Needs to move away because that ingredient's going to detonate any second. He's going to take a little tickle of damage. He's Dora, and he's going to take an awful lot more as Skies moves down and manages to find that kill, clearing off main stairs. But what a great job Dora has done there. 2 minutes wasted and the kill along the way as well with that nitro, so great stuff from him. 50 seconds left to go, and unfortunately for MACKO, they are on the downstairs, which is a sign that the attackers can attack with 10 seconds left to go if they need to. So yes, they've done well, yes, they've burnt a lot of time, but this is definitely still doable. That, however, is again another one of those mistakes creeping in there. Doesn't make its way through the floor. The gadgetry will now be in position, but it's another 10 seconds wasted.
But it's all good bait as well, Tim, because while the utility is being dropped in on the other side, you've got 2 players pushing in, 3 players pushing in through Moto. So they tried to suck all the attention, thinking a plant was going to go down inside of Arsenal, but in fact, it's 3 of them rolling their way through towards Church. A great bait and switch coming out from Gen.G. There's no ability to contest at long angles as well for the side of MACKO, and poor Teb has got it all to do against 3, but here he comes on a flank. They were looking the wrong way, but no, he's double backed in. At this point, they'll be able to stick it. He will find at least 1 kill for himself, but has got to go through both Deadshot and Acer. It's not going to happen. Gen.G up 3-0.
Yeah, great start for them. Looking absolutely fantastic. I feel a little bit for MACKO because I feel like they're doing some of the really hard work, the heavy lifting in the beginning of the round. They're setting themselves up for success, but then that last minute, it just seems to crumble every time, and Gen.G are able to get themselves in, find a couple of kills and grind them down and get the round each time. So tough one for MACKO. You know, they've seen the CCTV wall stay mostly closed and still lose CCTV. They've, you know, wasted 2 minutes on main stairs with the warden, and then with only a minute left to go down in the basement, they've still ended up losing and a plant going down. So a tough one for them to stomach at the minute, I think, and Gen.G just looking that extra 10%, especially in the last minute or so of the round.
It's tough because I feel like MACKO have taken some of the right steps in how they've opted to defend. Like you mentioned about the warden playing on main stairs, really cool stuff. There was a jammer there, ADS is stacked up behind him, plays the spot well, gets the C4 kill, and then I believe it was Azox just walks up and just shoots him in the head, and I was like, okay,
I think he needs to back off there a little bit, to be honest. The gas
really
park's going to explode. Yeah, he did. I think I'm not saying leave the spot. Maybe just down to the bottom of, you know, your next fallback point. Back down to the bottom of the steps and let him push the corner. You've got a shotgun. You're going to have a field day at close range like that. I feel like he maybe just overextended a little bit and it cost him, but he'll learn that at tier 1 quick enough, I'm sure.
But it was also the quality of the execute from Gen.G that followed for me that was massive, right? It was just, again, so well thought out, cutting off any players that were sat inside of Armory with the light wall, but also it's serving as a distraction that a drop could be coming in on the other side. It kind of forces panic in the MACKO camp. Where are they hitting? Where's the execution happening? And then before you know it, there's 3 players all inside of Moto, and it's like, oh, they're hitting on Church side, and by then you've lost 2 players. So it's just very well coordinated by Gen.G. Really enjoying what I've seen from them so far. And I'm hoping during this downtime we've got now, it gives MACKO a bit of time to figure out how they fight their way back into this, because they're barely looking competitive, Tim. I think across the rounds, they've got, what, 6 kills so far? It's not been good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and think, does this make it worse for MACKO? You know, bit of nerves coming into your first tier 1 match like this, and you know it's not starting well. I think the opposite, to be honest with you. It can't get any worse, can it? So at that point, kind of just write it off and think, right, you know, let's get into it. We just need to win 1 round. That's all we need, 1 round, and then that we'll worry about everything else after that. So I think in some ways, yeah, it kind of takes the heat off. You know what? If you were a little bit nervous coming in, thinking, you know, as any human naturally does, you know, you sort of think, what's the worst? You know, you think about all these worst case scenarios. Well, you know what? If you start thinking we could end up 3-0 down, well, you are. So don't worry about it. Crack on. You know, hopefully it just takes a little bit of the edge off for them, and they can just come in and we know that they can, you know, certainly compete better than this. So I'd like to see that.
I've just watched back on this. I've got the stream over on the second screen to kind of watch back what's going on as well, and I've got to say, Nadora there, I'm not quite sure what was going on in the Warden. He was aiming at the panel, not at where someone's head is going to appear. So we had no way of winning the gunfight out. And I was a bit like, okay, we're not aiming at heads today, I guess. It was a weird one. He gave his life away for free, quite literally entirely. It was very, very awkward.
Yeah, I think
it needs to be improved.
There was a few things going on for him. He had the gas pipe about to explode. I think he was concerned about being pushed at the same time. And there was a few things going on. But like you say, at this level, that's where you've got to be able to process 3, 4, 5, 6 things going on at the same time. Different pieces of information, and still be making that decision as to, you know, what's my best course of action here, what keeps me alive, what doesn't. And yeah, he just got caught out a little bit on that one. But, you know, I'm sure that we will see improvements on that as we go forward. So we're just continuing on with this tech pause for now. We'll just get these issues ironed out and we'll be back into game as soon as we can. But yeah, I'm enjoying this one so far. Like I said, coming into it, I felt like it was a big game. There's questions to be asked and answered of both teams, particularly, you know, being, I'll say, relatively new, you know, in terms of as a team, and particularly as an org. Of course, Gen.G are new to EML, but the players have been here. You know, we've got a majority of the ENCE roster from last time around, and we've got them joined by other former EUL players from the Wolves roster, so they know what it's about. It's not brand new to them. But MACKO particularly, it's been interesting to see them so far, and you know, look for those areas that are going to need improvement.
Well, while we're here waiting, Tim, we could talk about the rest of the games that are coming up today as well. We've got Wolves versus G2 next. I know everyone is very excited about that game, obviously here for Stomping, but let's not forget as well, coming up against Cracked at the same time, another player from, well, not another player, a player from Good Intentions that people are very, very excited about. So a bit of a kind of a showdown of the rookies in a way, and I can imagine the way most people are leaning for that one, but it'll be good to see how it goes. We've got VP against Falcons next. That's a classic showdown here in this region. I'd say probably one of our most played matchups. Not Falcons specifically, but BDS against Virtus Pro. Timeless almost, and I'm really curious to see how Virtus Pro have been doing, because although the last year has been all about Falcons and that roster and their constant second place finishes, the year prior, back in 2023, Virtus Pro won both stages. They were not quite on top of the world, but playing incredibly well, and I really hope here in CJX we see them get back into form. We've then got BDS against Secret, and we close things out with Fnatic against Wild. Fnatic, of course, picking up Wizard from Good Intentions, definitely the star of Challenger Series, it felt like, so I'm very keen to see what he can do. But with all that waffle, Tim, we're done. We're back into things. The game is underway, and we'll see if the audio is fixed as we get into it. Thank you very much for your patience. Starting things back up on Cash CC, Tim, and we'll see if Gen.G can keep this gravy train rolling.
Yeah, it's looking good so far, at least at my end, so fingers crossed. And like you say, let's see whether MACKO can get anything out of this one, or Gen.G just keep the steamroller moving, because that is what it has been so far. Like I said, I think MACKO have certainly got stuff to build on here. The start of the rounds has been good for them. I've liked the way they've wasted time. They've had some nice entry kills. They've done the right things through the first minute and a half or so. Gen.G have just done a really good job of not being sort of phased by that, not being put on the back foot, still just going through their checklist, a very checklist map is Clubhouse, going through each of the steps that they need, even with, you know, maybe an operator down, and still getting the job done. So it's been, you know, impressive elements from both. Let's see if they can do a better job of getting this wall open this time.
I mean, so far, not so good. Jammed out. But, of course, this is why you bring the micro EMPs along. It's something I was speaking about with Demo on the SAL yesterday, is when you have the double electrification band away, jammers are really the only way they're going to keep you out of walls. Things like micro EMPs are perfect for just getting straight through those with no bother at all. So Gen.G have made very, very quick work of ensuring this breach is opened up. doesn't mean the hold is over, mind you. We have still got a few players. You just saw for a second then, Ghost off on towards Catwalk. They've got to worry about that. We've got 2 players at top red. It's not as simple as open breach and yeah, you can win the round. They've still now got to figure out whether or not they take construction site control or if they get garage control. And they haven't got a Monty, but they have got a Blackbeard.
I like that Gen.G have just gone for the simpler breach this time. They've accepted, you know, we don't need to worry about getting the whole thing open. We'll just get the panel at the bottom. And like I said, you can then sit somebody on that rappel, watch through, and the defenders know now that they can't play in CCTV. So it's mission accomplished without, you know, worrying too much about trying to take the top and bottom off and get the whole thing soft and all those sorts of things. It just gets a job done for them. Last time around, they dealt with this position on rafters really well. Here come the Capitao bolts. Are they going to get the job done as well this time? There's nobody. Yes, they are. I was going to say there's nobody in position to deal with it, but MACKO had managed to move himself out onto that window that looks in from CCTV onto rafters, takes down Ghost beautifully, and that is once again Gen.G in control of rafters. It should really be the round from here. They've got the half wall rappel, they've got the rafters, they've got the diffuser in hand. They can just come in and get this plant down so long as they keep Lolo out of lounge.
It was just a pinch play there as well. 3 players all focused on removing the Jaeger, realizing there's no one mine. There's not a lot he can do about fire raining down on him. Beautiful bit of team play to force him out and getting that pinch in from the west window. Very, very smart. Teb gets one back at the very least. The second one's going to follow. Plant's going down. And at this point, Tim, they're looking a little bit shaky underneath this one as well. Where they find the man, he steps off from the plant as well. Ace are backing away for a second. We've got about 30 seconds to go though, Tim. And it is a 3 versus 3. Gen.G are the ones with control of the site. And sure enough, they found themselves one. A Trey comes on through. He's on his belly like a snake. And Nadora gets rid of 2. That's what you want to see. Good stuff from MACKO as they fight their way back into this.
Yeah, really important kill partway through that round was picking up MACKO underneath because it allowed them to get into lounge, and then we saw they denied the plant. There was only a second or 2 left to get that diffuser down on the ground, and if that happens, you've probably got a very different outcome there because they will just play it, Gen.G, out from that rappel. They will play it from rafters. They will make it super difficult for you to get back into sight. So they really needed to stop that plant going down, and MACKO did that brilliantly and identified that the player in lounge was the real sticking point. That was pretty much, you know, a big win condition for them, was clearing that out and getting that control back. So really well done from MACKO. They get themselves the first. Maybe the break did them a little bit of good. Maybe it didn't. Who knows? I felt it was coming anyway. Like I said, they've had some pretty solid first 2 minutes of rounds. They just needed to get one over the line. They do that, and we're going to see a few more from them now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about building into it, as we've said. Bit of warm-up time to get themselves on the go. Hopefully it's not too little too late. As we always say, Tim, 2 hours to a game of Siege, things can change very drastically in that second half. But I think regardless of the outcome from this one now, Gen.G will be happy with the 3 they've got. Now it's really all the pressure onto MACKO to ensure they get something else off this. It's going to be a gym and bedroom defense, and in case you're wondering why you're seeing 3 players out towards the right here, guys, you know what site you're on? Very, very common to see this extension on Club, where you extend out towards Cash and CC, because you know the attackers realistically have to work in from that side of the map. If they don't get control of CC, they don't control the west window, which means you therefore can't play on the south balcony, because if a defender gets hold of it, like they could do now, then you are toast as soon as you start trying to look in towards sight from that south balcony. So it's going to force the attackers to have to work their way across the entirety of the top floor, and that is where you've got reinforcements, Vulcan canisters, clash out there, barbed wire, you name it, Tim. They're quite literally throwing the kitchen sink at them.
Yeah, and no surprises. Like you say, just really needed to slow that down to prevent the pressure going directly onto site. Going to see construction wall opened up straight away, so MACKO have got decisions to make now. As it is, Gen.G haven't left anybody on there, and I kind of like that little bit of risk there from Ghost. He's had a look. I'm going to go around and I'm going to check out whether we're being pressured from construction or not. The fact that they're not kind of tells them that, you know, with a few caveats, we can play in construction still. We need to be careful, but we don't need to give up cash and CCTV just yet if we want to hold it for longer. So, not the end of the world. Good progress, though, from Gen.G. They've got Jacuzzi wall open. They've got construction wall opening. They are working on softening things up.
It's that threat as well, that single VIP wall that no one's then safe to pull back from on the extension. It may well just force the defenders, as you can largely see, to leg it from here and get out. They've got 1 or 2 still, and I think it's just Acqui actually that's held out here. Everyone else is gone. You kind of need a sacrificial lamb to pop these glow canisters, else you're leaving them there and getting absolutely no value from them. But the fact we're getting towards the last minute, Tim, and they haven't had to pop any off yet, really shows that this could be a serious problem for Gen.G. They've got to wait for the glow canisters to burn out. Teb's also found himself a kill in the process, which is looking great. Mirror window now gone at the same time, but they won't be able to push through this way. There we go. Finally, the fire being burnt out. I'm worried about the clock here for Gen.G.
Yeah, definitely, because not only are they having to wait for fire, they still have to clear Akwi as well. He's still in position, and they can't use those windows whilst they know that they haven't got that full control. They're still trying to work their way in from Jacuzzi balcony. Getting the mirror window in construction is a big moment, but as we say, they can't take advantage of that really until they move past Akwi. And just, I'm not sure that they know, Des. I'm not sure that they know.
He might get a bit of a backswipe on here if they're not too careful. I mean, they're dropping in to go and hit site, and no, they don't. In fact, that's a lie. They challenged onto him, but he's got the kill anyway. And now, again, it's panic stations. They've got 2 players on this south balcony window, and Akwi could step across and put a challenge onto them here. If not that, he's got a wonderful long view straight through the entirety of the map. They bolt through these windows, Tim. They're dead. Not that it matters, because Teb is cleaning up. He's got himself a third. Deadshot maybe getting 1 back here for a bit of consolation, but as we've assumed it might be, Gen.G has struggled here. The clock has worked against them, and MACKO have found their footing. 2 rounds on the bounce.
Yeah, they just needed that first one, didn't they? They just needed that spark to get them going. They looked much better then, and Gen.G, by contrast, just looked, you know, completely different to what we saw in the first couple of rounds. They were slow there. They didn't clear out utility. They didn't deal with Akwi for the longest time, which meant that I think they were kind of happy that they could use the windows, but still, it was tough.
Donc, il faut vraiment avoir un objectif de vision late game pour que tout le monde puisse être libéré sur le gameplay. Ok, là sur la strat là, typiquement, ils vont peut-être pas la refaire, mais du coup, il faut être libéré sur le gameplay pour pouvoir aller chercher le late game. C'est que depuis le début, c'est que de la tempo, et là il tempo encore plus que les 3 premiers.
Il reste qu'une défense.
Ok, donc du coup, on va la mettre correctement et derrière en attaque, dans l'inverse, dans la def, on va pas trop chercher non plus parce que vous avez vu, ils ont les infos sur tout ce qu'on fait. Ouais. Okay, donc du coup, on va pas trop chercher à faire sur les habitudes. Donc c'est bien ton affaire de stock, etc.
Tim, I know you're quite proud of how much French you speak.
Not enough is the answer there.
Not proud enough. Not gonna lie, that was for those of you at home that speak French. Maybe you can translate for us in chat, because I have not got a clue. Not got a Scooby, as we might say. I imagine it was a, all right, guys, chill. We're dropping rounds here unnecessarily. They get a 4-2 half, it'll still feel pretty good for them. A 3-3 after being 3-0 up is going to feel pretty bad.
What I can tell you is they definitely were not asking me if I have a store card for this supermarket. That much I can tell you for certain, Des.
Didn't ask if you wanted to pay with cash or with card?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, they didn't ask me once if I wanted a bag. Did not ask me once.
Very good. Very good.
Functional French, I think it's known.
I'm pretty sure, from when we were doing E1, I'm pretty sure I've still got the loyalty tag for that store, the Intermarché near us.
Oh,
I don't know how it's got anything on it, if it's worth anything, but it's still here. I imagine by now the points have expired after all these years.
Oh, dear me. Good times, good times. Well, let's get back into it. See if MACKO can... I mean, obviously, they've had the same opportunity. They will have been talking about what's been going right, maybe what's got them those couple of rounds. They can cement that.
I've just heard we can get Leo on the line to translate the timeout.
Excellent
Great idea! Leo, what you got for us?
Well, guys, I wanted to be short here because the round has started. But basically, what they've been talking about was it's very clear MACKO is playing only for time. As you can see, they only peel off and they play very, very close to site. So head coach of Gen.G said, you guys need to have a clear late round plan, a clear late round execution, and everybody plays to that win condition. Because these guys are going to give you everything, and that's exactly what's happening in that round. They give everything, so these guys, Gen.G, need to think of the execution plan straight from the beginning of the round. And after that, when they switch to attack, they need to make sure to not get too aggressive, because from their head, it's quite clear MACKO has counter-stratted everything and knows what they're doing. So they need to play very passive, and in attack here, need to have a clear execution plan.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Leo. I almost forgot that we have a Frenchman in the team. Normally I give you so much stick that I didn't even consider it for a second. You might want to help us out here and translate it, Tim.
Wonderful stuff from Leo, and exactly right. You know, like they said, MACKO basically playing for time wasting, just burn it down, burn the clock as far as you can. And this is what I've said. The first, you know, the rounds that Gen.G have won, MACKO have actually done really well through the first minute and a half, 2 minutes. But as Leo said, that they've identified in the tack time out there, the rounds that they have won have been where they've had that clear execution plan. So even when they've only had 30 seconds left to go, they've still had the work done. MACKO might have done well to stall them out, but they've had the work done. They've had the foundation positions prepped, and they've been able to go in there then and get that round one, even with short time left available to them. So let's see if MACKO can develop that. 1:10 left on the clock, so still plenty of time for a basement defense. We're seeing them continue to remove utility, stopping sight up before they're in a position to think about and execute.
Holding out here for the C4 at the bottom of main. And as you heard Leo saying a second ago, and what Gen.G was speaking about was that pacing element of this and needing to have a game plan from the start and making sure they're not getting pinned down to the clock in the last 10 seconds or so, because that is when things have collapsed for them. And here they are moving a bit more pace, Tim. They've got themselves down. They've largely, as they worked their way around the C4, they've read it coming over the top as well. Deadshot dealing with that one quite handedly. And now they've got themselves inside a Moto too, so it's not looking bad as we've got this last 35 seconds or so to play. It doesn't quite look as chaotic as round one, but it's going to be a chaotic ending regardless.
Yeah, it's a decent bit of control here. The question now is what can Gen.G do with it? They're going to look to just get aggressive with Deadshot here, and they haven't responded. MACKO Akwi manages to get around and get that kill, but not before they lose Ghost. 4 versus 4 now, as Gen.G move in and try to continue taking more of sight. Deadshot manages to find Akwi this time. 3 versus 3, Tev with one of his own, and they're trying to hold on, but the diffuser's going down, Des.
All of them stacked up in the same spot as well. A C4 here would have been perfect, but of course haven't got one, and they've stopped the diffuser going down at the last second. Lolo with a big 2K closes the round out, and MACKO make it 3 apiece.
I think that was really nice from MACKO there, and that's kind of what the game plan has been. Deny them as much as you can, and then we only have to stop one plant attempt, because as we saw, there was 6 seconds left on the clock. You stop that plant going down, it's almost certainly going to be the end of the round, and that time it worked out for MACKO. They did let one of Gen.G sort of slip the net a little bit, walk down long, get a kill, get in behind them, but Akwi responded well, found the trade immediately, and MACKO are playing that trade game well towards the end of the rounds, and it has paid dividends for them. With the way things started, coming out with a 3-3 half is a steal for MACKO there. They've been fantastic over the last couple of rounds, certainly head and shoulders better than we saw them in the first few rounds, and now we really do have a game. Anybody could take this.
He's kind of saw his teammate a bit there. One person's got responsibility to watch that long corridor, and Akwi's gone off to go and look at blue, probably because he's been called over by his teammate, admittedly, but then has left that main corridor exposed, and that's what seemed to bring everything undone for the side of MACKO. If not for Lolo getting a big 2K with about 2 seconds left on the clock, it all could have gone horribly wrong, and we could instead be looking at a 4-2 scoreline. But let's see how Gen.G fare on their defenses. We're going to start things off in the basement. And once again, we're seeing players setting up Tim not in the basement, on the site itself. They're up on this top floor. And we've seen a couple of these, what back in the day would have been called an SSG roam. That was used a couple of times over in SAL over the weekend. You're seeing something like it now, where a couple of them are keeping themselves busy, just trying to waste time and trip up the attackers before they can get anywhere near the point of execution.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they've done with the hatches. When you play with the castle, usually you're creating like a safe tunnel, if you will, down the middle of the map. I used to liken it to the like little arcade type game Plinko that you get, where it drops down through the pegs, a little disc. It's kind of like that. So the defenders
isn't that Kaplunk?
No. I mean, it's sort of similar, I guess, again. But it's just so that they can sort of drop down through the levels, wiggle their way down through those hatches and get back to sight. But if you're going to play like that, if they have opened the hatches because they've played the castle barricades, it means that you really need to be keeping a hold of that top floor. You need to be keeping hold of that territory for as long as possible, because effectively you've done a big chunk of work for the attackers. Ghost manages to find skies. That's not ideal. The Capcan goes. Of course, the EDD traps will still be in position, so the utility is not lost. But 5 versus 4 now for the attackers. MACKO, with 2 minutes left on the clock, can start going and doing that work of softening sight up.
Those first kill, it's worth stressing, since round 1. It has been a long time coming on the way. Started out with the entry, if you recall, on the castle. It's taken him a full 6 further rounds before he can get himself back on the scoreboard. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on, being one of their entries, you'd hope he'd warm up a little bit more. Not that it matters too much, because when you've got players like Dora working some magic, that's all you need. NACO's the one going down here. 5 versus 3, and MACKO looking good on their first attack.
Interestingly, not only is the score 50-50 at the minute with 3 apiece on either side, so is the entry until that last one. Ghost has now tipped it in the favour of MACKO 4-3 in terms of the entry. Look at the pressure that they're coming under here on site though, Gen.G. 4 versus 2 as Dora manages to find Acer, and it is not looking good right now. If you are on the defence, you can see them scrambling, having to go to those secondary, tertiary positions. Azox does manage to find Dora. That's something, but the big problem, the focal point at the minute has got to be Lolo. You've still got a Blackbeard against you, Des, and nobody wants to be challenging a Blackbeard.
You've got a player now working his way down main stairs. I imagine was dancing around kitchen hatch for a while. MACKO, I like what they're doing here. They've sort of paused for a second while they figure out the next best step. Haven't got themselves rushing in or the Blackbeard charging in, trying to force out a 1 versus 1. It's been composed so far. And here we go. Akwi now going in for a drop. In to try and find one, and sure enough, he's gone. Deadshot's out of here. It's all down to Azox, and he can do nothing but look on as he gets dispatched by MACKO. Very, very good end to the round, and very good start as well, Tim. Got themselves into a 5v3 early. Really impressive attack.
Yeah, I like the point that you picked up on there, Des, was I think fantastic the way that they paused. 40 seconds left to go with 3 versus 2. We've got time. Let's just take a minute. We can get on the drones. We can see what's going on. We can reposition. And it was that reposition that won them the round. Akwi then drops in and just opens them up like a tin of beans. Manages to find the Fenrir through the soft wall. And then it's just, you know, open season on the last man down by boxers. So great stuff from MACKO. Great adaptation. And that's 4 rounds in a row now. So we're starting to learn something about Gen.G. And that is, how do you deal with adversity? Because you're facing some.
Woohoo! Okay. Fair play, Tim. You did say this might be a pretty big game. It's turning into one. MACKO certainly not letting this one fade into the distance. Letting Gen.G roll over them. I wouldn't be surprised, truthfully, if after the next round we see Gen.G calling their own attack timeout, because they lose this one. That's 5 rounds on the bounce where they've fallen apart and let MACKO back into this. And I don't think it's all down to Gen.G just taking their foot off the gas. I think it's the MACKO have accelerated and overtaken them at this point. Playing really well. Now we'll see if Gen.G can balance things back out. They need to find themselves into winning ways in this half.
Let's see how MACKO do with opening up this CCTV wall. I know we're on the gym and bedroom side, but clearing out CCTV, cash, top red, wasn't something that Gen.G did particularly well last time around. Akwi was able to stay playing in there and took big advantage of it. They're now trying to do that themselves on the defense. So how well do MACKO deal with this? Construction wall is going to be next. So they're starting to soften things up. They're starting to get those hard breaches done. Jacuzzi wall will be opened up last of all, and then they need to start using those angles. But yeah, big question for me, how well do you clear out cash? How well do you gain access to those windows?
I don't think they worry about it at all. Got the jacuzzi wall opened up as well. Very, very standard. It's worth stressing as well. Dora having now worked through both of those exothermic charges. The other one I didn't see, I assume it went down to the VIP wall. In fact, no, Ted was opening that one up on us well, so maybe it was off towards the cash side first, and then has rotated his way over. Either way, they've got a lot of breaching work done at this point, and now it's going to be a case of trying to get through these mirror windows. Azox realizing, oh, there's no jammer at my feet anymore. There's nothing to stop this going off, so I'm guessing I'm losing the mirror window. It's a good progress being made by MACKO. We're less than halfway through the round, Tim, but they've got open everything they want to. Now it's about stepping through those breaches and starting to get control of the map.
Azox was very cool and calm there to say that bullets were raining around his head from that open mirror window. He does get himself out to the sort of Shaco spot in construction to try and hold from there. But opening kill comes in. That sky's gone, and that's a big one as well, because there'll be no further deployment of Keeper barricades now with the Azami off the board, and that can be a real defining factor on most sites, but on this site particularly as well. Gen.G starting to be forced back now. Azox does a great job of finding Teb. 4 versus 4. Dead shot onto Akwi as well. 4 versus 3. Gen.G just starting to get something going on the defense.
Deadshot was playing in basement that whole time, just trying to find the right timing to strike from below, and he's done just that. Taking out Akwi, they've got no main stairs presence anymore. Not that it's going to stop them, Tim. They could still step forward and find kills, but it's far harder than it was. 2 players on South Balcony, 1 inside a jacuzzi. It's a 3 versus 3, but the positions don't really favor MACKO.
I don't think they were aware of the down until the drone went in, but as soon as they were, Lolo takes advantage, gets himself in and gets involved. They need somebody to go in and clear out that mirror window from behind, and that's exactly the job of Ghost, but he can't get it done. Acer does the damage, and he manages to find another 2 versus Defenders won now, and that failure to find the kill behind the mirror window will probably be a defining factor in this round. Nitro goes out, Dora taken down, and Gen.G hold on.
I tell you what, I'll give it to Deadshot there. That was a really intelligent round from him. Both how patient he was being down in the basement, coming up and getting a kill, then not overplaying and trying to swing onto the player aggressively on Jacuzzi, letting them know that he was there, but then being willing to back away when he realized they had the man advantage and playing off the C4. Really good management of that round, and I clocked at the time that for MACKO, their positions were a little bit difficult to play off. 2 players on South Balcony, 1 coming in through Jacuzzi. They really didn't have very much control, but the hero of the moment, Tim, you clocked it, was this man. Ace for getting the 1, spinning up and getting the trade onto Lolo. That was what cemented this round for them, but between him and Deadshot there, they played a brilliant closeout to that round.
Yeah, just hitting prone. It goes to show, I think, you know, we get often asked quite by players who are coming into game. I think we're going to have a lot of new players coming into game. There might be a lot of new players joining us tonight. Of course, you know, with the launch of Siege X and everything, we're going to see, you know, these players coming and giving Siege a try and seeing what a wonderful game it is. And something as simple as never be scared to change up your position in terms of, are you stood? Are you crouched? Are you prone? You know, if you're peeking somebody, for example, it wasn't the case there, but if you're peeking somebody around a corner and you're peeking them stood up fully, they're going to start training in on head height and try and catch you next time you peek out. So if you go crouched and then peek out, you've changed that target point. And it was just something that Acer did brilliantly well there. He knew he was going to be challenged around the corner. So you know what? I'll take a roll of the dice. I'm going to say they're not going to expect me leg prone. And the reason is it's a 3v3 and they're trying to push in and they're getting aggressive on the other side of that mirror window. So of course you think he's going to be stood up and ready to challenge. He goes prone and he wins a fight that wins the round. Great stuff from him. It's a simple mechanic, but boy, can it be an important one.
Sadly, I don't think this Scott shell is long for this world. MACKO reduced to just the 1. Although we've seen teams that at least historically struggle with that as well, because you can't always vault over it. If you're not like a sledge or someone with destruction, you'll struggle in cases there to actually be able to get rid of it. So it's good that the sledge was the 1 in position to be able to clear that 1 away. There's no weird flanks that can come through from MACKO here and upset them. Looking good so far.
Yep, so far so good. As we see the vertical work start to be done, it's going to be a case of defenders moving back towards the basement now. Azox is kind of up and down a little bit, but everybody else has got themselves back on site. How about that from MACKO, though? We often say in Siege there's an advantage to having the high ground, to being on top of those hatches, looking down. MACKO showing that's not always the case. He might have lost his shell on the top floor, but somebody's just lost their head. Akwi taken out, and that's a big loss with the Capitao going.
Oh no, he's got away with it as well. The man is a master of playing inside of storage, dancing around these keepers, was constantly having to expend them on the window to stop him being tagged, but has stepped on the window, killed a player, and now he's got a kill through a flash as well. Tim, absolutely enormous from Azox here, makes it 3, makes it a 4, flawless round coming out, and he has done all the work by himself on that Azami. What a round from Azox.
Big stuff from him. Just absolutely dominating that position, dominating the round. And we so often, if you're going to play in a spot, you got to know it. You got to know your angles. Where can you challenge? When can you challenge? And he's just showed that absolutely beautifully. This game is turning into a hell of a start to stage 1 of EML 2025. Gen.G 5-4 now after losing 4 rounds back to back. They've managed to get themselves a couple and get themselves back into this matchup. Unbelievable stuff.
Wow. Wow. Such a phenomenal play. Like, in a lot of situations, that play would go wrong as well. When he's stepping up to try and challenge the player in the window, you die 9 times out of 10 in that situation. He can see what you're doing, he's aware of you moving, but he's taking a risk there, Tim, and come out massively on top of it. Great use of the keepers, very selfish in the setup, but I don't say that in a bad way. Not invested in the site itself, has just made himself an absolute nightmare for MACKO to deal with. And Gen.G are back to winning ways. I was thinking about the timeout, by the way. MACKO, the one who's still got theirs available. Sorry, it was Gen.G, of course, French team. We had the French timeout. They've used theirs. It's MACKO who have got the choice, if they need it, to leverage that tac timeout and have a conversation. And I always get nervous when you save it right up until the very end, which in this case it would be. If it goes 6-4 here, you've kind of left it with all the work to do. Like, it feels like, okay, you've given them a couple of rounds here. Maybe now have the conversation and try and get yourself back into it.
Little bit of a slow reaction there from Deadshot on the drone. I saw it coming down long, didn't ADS quickly enough, and I think it actually managed to get away and survive, but it also says he's down in the basement, and that's something that we have seen from him previously. Definitely MACKO will be aware of that now. The Maverick being brought in to try and get this breaching work done, and will immediately process that. Dora just burning away the top of that reinforcement. We'll look for the bottom shortly, I'm sure, and then we will get the soft wall blown away. The work continues. Look, there we go. That's very nice. I commented on this the other day when we were doing SAL Des as well. Look how clean that Maverick work is. You know, I often talk about this. These are top level teams, and having to come in and open a reinforcement with a Maverick should not be a problem for them. You know, you should have a player on your team who is capable of doing that with ease, and that's not always the case. It's not always what we see. And that was beautiful stuff from Dora there. He's just come in, 3 very simple lines, pinpoint, hasn't made a mess of it, hasn't taken ages to get it done. It's a little thing, but again, it's an important thing.
What Dora doesn't know is he's now made it into your little notebook where you've written his name down on like good Maverick players, and then you've written Dora and loads of little love hearts drawn all around his name. He's up there
all
for
in
you
flames
with the greats.
because it's Maverick.
Very good, very good. Well, it's certainly a good start, and also now putting to put pressure inside of Garage. We saw this in the reverse back at the start when Gen.G were on the attack. A lot of pressure inside of here. MACKO could barely hold on to this room. However, so far, Sky's has still got himself dug in, and they're looking to try and challenge, but Dora has found him out. Now he's in his very good boy book by the looks of it, because he's not only got the wall opened up, he's also got himself a kill.
More great Maverick play, you see. He's moved away, he's got his job done, he's found a kill. What more can we ask from Dora? He's having a really good debut. He's having a really good debut, to be fair. First game at Tier 1 level, 9 and 7. Very, very consistent so far. You know, definitely keeping up with his team and with the other side as well. So nice to see, one to watch, definitely. But let's see what we can do here. 4 versus 4. MACKO will continue, as will the Maving. Does he get this done? Oh, Dora, don't make me mark you down. No, he gets it done quite easily. Good stuff again. So they've got access in towards that plant spot if they want it. MACKO need to understand now, 40 seconds left to go. If they get somebody down in lounge to watch that area, they have everything that they need to put this diffuser down. They just need to burn out that little bit of utility. The bulletproof can doesn't really help them too much because it does say it is going to give that information as to when they're going into plant, but they've got the job done and they're going to go in and try and do something here.
Here we go. Got himself tucked into the corner. Of course, can't plant yet when he's got a goo mine in his foot. But they are now planting, and there are grenades going down everywhere. MACKO, he steps out at the right time here, but no, he's been down in the smoke. 3 kills fly through, and MACKO. What another excellent round we're seeing attacking this site. Neither team seem to be able to hold on to Garage because the other side is so good at getting it cleared out. It's so exciting watching the back and forth between the two of them. Brilliant stuff.
Oh, it was a great execution from MACKO, and it is genuinely one of the simpler sites in Siege to execute onto as attackers. Open the wall, hold a line from the rappel. That stops anybody moving cash into CCTV. So CCTV now is physically safe. You can get in behind the servers. Nobody can see through that. Again, safe. So you've got your plant spot. If you have one underneath in lounge and one on rafters to watch top red, that's it. There's no way that you shouldn't be getting the plant down and winning that round. And MACKO have understood those conditions very, very well. They've got the job done, and they take us to 5-5. We're going to see 12 as a minimum.
Do we dare say it? A little cheeky overtime on game 1, Tim?
Who knows, Des? I mean, it would be like us, to be fair, to come into EML and our very first game go to overtime. It wouldn't surprise. I'd love it. I'm absolutely on the edge of my seat with this one. I said it was going to be a big game coming in because we were going to find a lot about these two teams. I think we have found out a lot about them. You know, yes, there are a few improvements to be made here and there, but it's also their first game as complete rosters at this level, playing together, so that's to be expected. I think, you know, looking as this is a starting point, they're going to get better and better as this stage goes on, and they could definitely be taking some names as things progress.
Not forgetting, of course, it's now top 6 of 10 teams that make it into the playoffs. And I think there's a good few teams that could be warring over that 6th spot. I think there's some known names that we'll see up there. Like G2 you expect to see there, Virtus Pro we expect to see there, Falcons we expect to see there, and so on and so forth. For me, that 5th and 6th place spot are the ones that are very much up in the air and up for contention. You know, you've got BDS are fighting for it. I thought Gen.G and MACKO we might see a little bit below them, but with how both have played so far today, I am really impressed. The crazy thing is now we could go into future games and see even more impressive gameplay out of the other European teams that we yet to see, of course, performing the stage, given this is the first one. Just overall, again, that first ever stage is so chaotic. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, personally coming in, I was looking at it today and I thought, Falcons, Secret, G2, I expect pretty good things out of. Beyond that, I've no idea. And this game just absolutely cements that view in my head that the 7 below that could end up any which way around. Azox does manage to take down Teb, and we're going to have a nice little jump up from Dora. MACKO are going for it. Is there anything they can do to stop him? Nitro goes up and just manages to get his man. There was about a second left. Kills are raining in. 4 versus 2. And Gen.G are coming out on top.
It's Deadshot again with the C4s, man.
They haven't. That's a mistake from MACKO. You gotta stop it. You gotta stop it.
If only it was that easy. Oh, it's tough. Really tough. And that was maybe the closest they're going to get. Like, for Gen.G now, this round looks all but in the bag. There's only 2 players left that you're up against. You know where the diffuser is, that it's down inside a gym. They've really got to go hunting and leave out 1v1s here, I feel, for MACKO to fight their way back in. And they ain't no slouches, Tim. They are not going to give them a way back into this round.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. They're going to have to take their way back in, definitely. But, yeah, for me, you can't... fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Allowing Deadshot that nitro from underneath twice to deny plants. I know that they were losing bodies at that point. I don't know if one of them was lost underneath or not, but you got to have somebody downstairs or on Billiard's window or something. You got to stop that vertical play from underneath. You can't keep going in and falling foul of the same thing. Gonna work from construction door here, Lolo. Just see if we can get anything going. But Gen.G are playing this very, very relaxed. I like this.
Just saw the back then of the Deadshot as well, so he knows that he's hanging just outside. Starts to cross, but there's no real time here to play with. There's a 3-way crossfire onto him. MACKO gets both exit kills, and Gen.G move up to match points. MACKO have to win the next one, else all 3 points go over towards the French side.
Yeah, of course. If they don't, we will head into overtime where it becomes best of 3 rounds. The loser will get 1 point as a consolation, and the winner will only get 2 instead of 3. So quite a big opportunity for Gen.G, but we've got a tag timeout coming in from MACKO.
Anche se andiamo un minimo più lenti e non prendiamo perfettamente l'opportunità di entrare site, perfettamente, facciamo le cose anche un po' più lenti, ma con più precisione. Perché sono i dettaglini, il senso ora che non ha funzionato, tutte le piccole stronzatine che ci stanno facendo perdere ora questi execute. Quindi anche se perdiamo l'opportunità o comunque non li sorprendiamo completamente, andiamo un minimo più lenti, più chiari fra di voi le comms e un pochino con più calma. Dovete essere al 100% sicuri che tutto vada bene, ok? Dai che tanto non succede nulla.
I think I understood okay in that sentence. And that whole 45-second breakdown.
Much?
Okay. 2 letters. I'm quite impressed with myself, to be fair. Do you reckon Fresh is like secretly an Italian speaker? Can he come and help us out?
I'm not. I've never. What I will say is I've never heard him speak Italian.
That's true. But that's what I mean. It could be a deep secret that he's kept from us. Either way, I would imagine the conversation probably goes something like, we need to sort this out, boys, because we're doomed otherwise. It is that point where, as I said, 1 more round and they send us to overtime. At least that way, both teams walk away with a single point. The winner would walk away with 2. But if Gen.G take this round and given it down in the basement, that's looking likely. They take the lion's share. They take all 3 points. MACKO are left with nothing.
Yeah, it's always, like you say, it's always a big risk leaving that attack timeout until you're facing match point, because whatever gets said there has to be enough to get it changed immediately. Lose one, you're done. It's over. So, yeah, it's always a bit of a risk. We'll see, you know, how well placed that risk has been. But for now, we have the initial fencing between the 2 teams as the preparation continues down in basement for the next 20-30 seconds. Not too much of a rush here. They know they're not going to come under attack that quickly, you wouldn't expect. And it looks like MACKO here are setting themselves up for that top floor clearance.
Understandably, because Gen.G have got themselves fully set up there. And this is the thing, like, you can place down all these gadgets. As you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen, no one is actually upstairs. But because there are mute jammers up there, there's the constant fear of, well, what if there is? What if there's someone sat inside of that room that we can't get into because there's jammers across both doors. You have to go in and check it out, and you have to be very cautious and slow things down. Obviously, on Gen.G side, it means that there aren't any jammers they can really use on the downstairs, but I can't imagine they're all that bothered by that team. They've got themselves dug in with a nice setup here as well. Got the Evil Eyes on side, of course. You've got the mirrors set up. You've got the ability to stall out with Tuberau, smokes, C4 to toss at them. Really, it's a fortress that MACKO have got to break down at this point, and that is not going to be easy.
Entry kills haven't actually been the most impactful stat that we've seen so far tonight. Only 5 of them out of 11 have actually led to the round being won for the team that have got the entry kill. But interestingly, over the last 3 rounds, Gen.G have got all of the entry kills over the last 3 rounds, and they have won 2 out of those 3 rounds. So they're really starting to book the trend a little bit by getting in there, getting aggressive on MACKO, getting those opening kills, and it is paying dividends for them. So in terms of this round, the map point round, it's an important element to watch out for. Hasn't been throughout the entire game, but certainly now it could be a defining factor.
I'm a little nervous for them here. MACKO more forced by Gen.G to do so. They've really taken their time. They've only just started swinging for the verticals with about 60 seconds on the clock. They've got no drones going in downstairs because they've had jammers greet them every single step of the way. And again, there's all this utility and all this denial available to the side of Gen.G. I'm just a little bit nervous at this point that they might find themselves running out of time unless they can really speed things up.
Just going to be getting back on the drones. 45 seconds left to go. They do have access from Moto. Will take out the fire extinguisher, which will provide a little bit of smoke cover for the second, but they don't drop into it. Don't take that opportunity. Moving in from Oil Pit as well now. 30 seconds left to go. MACKO need to find themselves a couple of kills here. Can they get 1? Yes. Make it 2. Dora, Lolo, Deadshot and Skies are the victims. 5 versus 3. This could be on for MACKO, Des. Diffuser's going down.
C4 up and over, trying to find the man in blue, but can't connect onto it. The door is going to get a chance to finish this one off. There we go. MACKO now the ones in full control. And Tim, they've done it. They've found 2 more. It is just Ace left alive. And I doubt he can come out with a 1v5. Gets a second for himself. Has got to collect onto a couple more here. This will be one hell of a twist if he can make it happen. But MACKO surely have the experience to not give this sort of round away. There's a track on him as well. Trolls for the spray through. Tim, say the line.
We're going to overtime, Des.
In game 1, no less. MACKO battling back. It has been a story, this game. You had Gen.G going up 3 rounds to get ahead. Then we had it swing massively over towards MACKO at a 3-3. And then Gen.G were the ones falling behind, and it was like, oh no, can they keep up? MACKO starting to run away with it. And now look where we are. So back and forth. 3 more potential rounds to decide which way this game goes.
Great stuff from MACKO to hold on there. We said it's always a bit of a gamble, taking that tactical timeout at the last possible minute, but the gamble paid off this time. Whatever was said during that timeout did the business, and they got the job done. It was a nice attack. Like you said, there was a little bit of a minute where we thought, they're maybe a little bit far behind here. Only a minute left to go, and they're now starting on the verticals, but they proved that time certainly was not the issue for them, and we move on 6-6, so we head into overtime. What happens with the operator bans, you might ask me? We are, of course, in our new banning system. So what happens now is the bans that you took for the relevant half are all applicable here. So MACKO, when they were on the attack, the defensive bans they chose are the defensive bans used here, and the attacker bans that Gen.G chose are the ones used in the next round. That will be reversed, and we will use the relevant ones from the other halves.
Indeed we shall. But Tim, what matters, I'd love to say it matters who starts on what side here, but I just don't think it does. As we've seen, the 3-3 splits have come out. It could come down to site influence more than anything else. The MACKO, well, they go back to the, what was it Demo was calling it yesterday, the panic Monty. When you really need a bit of stability in your team because things have been going a bit pear-shaped, you go towards a Monty. And Lolo has jumped straight onto the operator in this round, because it's a very safe operator. It gives you information. It's a spearhead for the team. You can afford to cut corners. You haven't got to drone out absolutely everything. Here looks more like it's being lined to try and clear their way through in towards Catwalk. But bearing in mind we're on gym and bedroom, that would be a very big investment coming out of Gen.G if they're really trying to full hold down here as well.
I didn't say it at the beginning, but it's still very relevant now. I'm really glad that we've got Clubhouse for these 2 teams. I think coming in here, first game, you know, for both of the rosters as we've seen them, it's nice to not really have the map be a huge factor. It's not like, oh yeah, they're just a really good labs team, or yeah, you know, it's the fact that everybody can play Clubhouse. Everybody should be capable of playing this map. So, and I think it's delivered. I think they've both been able to come in here and just, you know, really go for it without worrying about those things. And it's been fantastic stuff. The Monty continues to make progress. Lolo looking to take ground into Cash, and they're pretty comfortable. They've got that area now, so they can start thinking about using those windows as well.
Sure, it's a slow and steady one. Someone did translate in chat, by the way. It was very much the same sort of thing that we saw at Gen.G. It was like, you know, slow it down, make sure you've got everything you need for your execute. And as we saw in round 12, that's exactly what MACKO did. It was pretty slow and composed, and I was worried about time for a while. But when they pulled the trigger, 2 very quick kills came out. This round is following much the same. They've taken things quite slow. They haven't felt the need to get caught up in gunfights with members of Gen.G around the map. They just said, let's do what we got to do and then get ourselves moving on forwards. But Tim, I'll pull your eyes towards Deadshot one more time. He is down in basement again. And last time round, it was a C4 from below. It was a kill coming up main stairs. He could yet try and look for the same. He's even got a friend down here. Him and MACKO checking things out, passing by each other on their way to swap sides of the map.
If he gets away with the same, Des, I'm going to pull out what little hair I've got left. Let me tell you. They cannot allow Deadshot to deny a plant from below for the 3rd time. I'm going to say it very clearly. Nade goes in, trying to clear that mirror position. The challenge comes in from the score post. Guys, taking a lot of damage along the way. This is aggressive, though. Look at that. And they're going to lose out. Dora manages to find Azok's 5 versus 4.
Down,
advantage MACKO, but as you say, 2 bodies down on the deck. Dora does get picked up, so it leaves us effectively in a 4 versus 4.
But it doesn't leave them a lot of time, Tim. I think they've recovered 1. They might just leave Ghost at this point. He's probably just said, just go for it, guys. We don't really have the time here. They're going to have to step in and make this work. A plant now coming in. But Tim, again, they've forgotten about it. They don't know where he is, though. He's got the wrong spot. No! He's got the wrong side of the weight track and paid the price. Diffuser is down. Lolo baiting them out here. And now it's going to be panic stations for Gen.G to recover.
You were about to see an all-time crash out from me there, Des, but we managed to avoid it because the Nitro went to the wrong spot. Teb manages to pick up Skies, 4 versus 2, but here comes the flank. Asa manages to find Teb. They're both over there, though, and Akwi predicts that they're going to go to the window. They give him a second look, and he doesn't need a second chance. That's going to be MACKO getting themselves another round, and this is now their opportunity to close it out and take the lion's share of the points.
Oh boy, again, this game just keeps on going back and forth like a pendulum. MACKO back in the lead for what must feel like the 10th time this game. It has been ridiculous in the levels it's gone back and forth. And as much as we were speaking about Deadshot, Tim, he was in the same spot to be able to get away with that C4 again. I thought for a second you were about to tear your hair out. I thought it was going to be your whole head getting ripped in half, but no. The ping comes through that he was trusting from his team. Looks like maybe slightly in the wrong spot, and they have paid the price. Gen.G have now got to battle their way back, win 2 rounds in a row. Well, this one's done, and they lose the points that 3 rounds in, they look pretty set to be able to take.
I know I've already picked up on Dora, but I just want to give him another shout as well there. You know, getting the kill in through the breach, through the Maverick call was one thing. That was fantastic. But then he gets the final kill of the round as well. He's on 13 and 9. He's doing extremely well, especially for a debut performance. So good on Dora, definitely, as I said, one to watch. Lolo going well as well, 12 and 7. Gen.G, they need the hero. They need somebody to step up. Azox is having a big game, 14 and 10. But you feel like there's maybe a little bit of room for those other players, somebody to grab a hold of this, come through, big 3K, big 4K, and just get them back into this, because right now MACKO, one more round and they take the 2 points, they take the win. They get 2 opportunities really, because even if Gen.G win this round, it's 7-7, and MACKO could still win the next round and do exactly the same. So backs to the wall time now, Gen.G, time to get your foot on that wall and push back.
As you mentioned, those 3 3Ks that we've seen so far, 2 3Ks and a 4K, as well as a 1v2, coming out of Azok Skies, and Azza, like, tell you enough. They've won those 3 rounds, they've been the big moments, so I'm with you, Tim. Who's going to be the hero when your team needs it most? Because Dora has certainly been that guy on the other side. Of course, can't ignore others that have stepped up. Lolo and Teb also having great games, but as you say, for Dora's first step in towards Tier 1, this has been a really impressive performance from him.
Nitro ripped and ready. I always love the pre-rip on a Nitro. I've said this before, but just that kind of, it's almost like a, you know, like a ripping sound that you get when you go to activate. It's just such a giveaway for the Nitro, such a unique sound that having it done ready a lot of the time does leave people unsuspecting. But as we go, MACKO are going to be holding on to cash for as long as they can. The walls have been opened. It's going to be more difficult now. Ghost is going to stick it though. He's got the operator to do it. He's got the ward in there, so he can't be flashed out. He will at least have his vision, but he's not going to have anything anymore because MACKO manages to find him from underneath, takes him down, and that is first blow to Gen.G.
Bit of a rough game for Ghost, admittedly. Started out well in round one. I thought, oh great, that you've got a good entry fragger here that can really start cooking, but it's not been his day, that's for sure. Deadshot doubling down that pain and getting rid of Tev at the same time. Surely, Tim, there's a 5 versus 3 with over half the, well, just under half the round to play, sorry. They can get this one done. There should be no excuse to drop this one away. But my eyes, again, can't ignore a player that is downstairs. Dora was for a second ago inside a bar. He's now come back upstairs. Has a C4 in back pocket. If he goes unchecked, that's maybe a free C4 kill, and it'll be undone to the other side.
Surely not. Surely we are not going to see the Deadshot triple attempt Nitro used against them, and successfully so. Challenge goes in, but he has gone. Akwi has relocated. Just found himself face to face with a shield, though. Azok's now on low health, needs to be cautious because, of course, there is the Vulcan canister there as well. Akwi does get his man, but whilst that happens, 2 go down elsewhere, and it's a simple mopping up process inside of logistics to close that one out. Gen.G pressuring a number of areas all at the same time, find a lot of success from it, and take us, Des, all the way to 15.
Of course it has to go all the way in game one, Tim. It feels like it deserves it because, as we said, the game has been so back and forth between the two. High moments from various players across both teams. It feels like Gen.G, honestly, I think with how Gen.G have been going so far, with how we've seen them have what I would argue is probably the stronger winning rounds overall. Don't get me wrong, we've definitely seen some from MACKO as well. I think Gen.G have been more consistently strong throughout the rounds itself, and probably at this point for me can take this one away on the defense.
It is absolutely anybody's. It's absolutely anybody's. I agree. It's not going to be easy to break down Gen.G down in the basement. They do have, I would say, some of the advantages, not necessarily all of the advantages, but it is one of the strongest defensive sides in the game, or often considered that way. So it's not going to be easy for MACKO here. The question is, how much of the map, for me at least, how much of the map did Gen.G give up to MACKO at the beginning here? Do they fight them at the borders? Do they get 2 or 3 top floor and try and waste as much time as possible? Or do they turtle up downstairs and just hope that MACKO run out of time? Because it didn't work out for them last time. MACKO, even with a minute left before they started the vertical work, still managed to get it done. So for me, I think you've got to get out there in the map. You've got to try and waste some time. And more importantly, try and find a kill or 2. We often say Roma's first job is, you know, waste time as much as you can. But right now, I think it's get yourself a man advantage and get back to site safely.
They've definitely gone for that same approach of dropping down those jammers and chucking down every manner of utility upstairs as well to keep them guessing, but also quite a heavy utility lean here with the double bulletproofs coming out from Skies and from Deadshot. Although admittedly, Skies hasn't yet placed this down. He has been a busy boy running around, barricading things up, dropping down those traps, but I have a feeling he might die here with it in back pocket. I imagine that's a good time to get it deployed, I'm not going to lie. Saw a couple of players this weekend forget to make use of the utility in a similar fashion, but it's given them a couple of questions to ask there, took out a drone or 2, and now gotten himself back down on site.
I don't know if Gen.G have committed enough to this. They've got Romas on the mid floor. They've had MACKO kind of upstairs, but he's now moving back down. We're only a minute into the round. If you're not being challenged on that top floor, I'm thinking get yourself into garage, get a few shots in on the flank, try and keep yourself alive, but really make MACKO think here. Give them a reason to burn time. Gen.G have had the presence out in the map, but they haven't really gained anything from it.
No, a little bit of time wasted, right, and a couple of drones taken down. It's far from a lot for what they've invested up there with the can traps around that first floor and so on and so forth. Here we go, the push coming on through, and Sky's really fancying himself to win something here. Got a Blackbeard staring at your face is one problem, and a player coming in behind us with the nade sails over the top. It's going to force the countdown back here, but he really doesn't want to give up this ground, and they probably realise, like you said, that they need to burn more time, and Lolo is there expecting to charge and gets a freebie.
Yeah, it was a really key position. If you've got somebody in dirt tunnel, it makes it difficult to plant in default underneath kitchen hatch. That opens up now for MACKO, especially with Teb finding another onto Acer. 5 versus 3. It's now time to think about getting that diffuser down. Deadshot finds one onto Dora, but Lolo elsewhere onto Azok. Surely this is going MACKO's way, but as it has throughout the game, Gen.G continue finding a way to fight, but Teb takes down Deadshot, and that is it. It's all over as the final kill comes in, and MACKO, after waiting so long, Des, after grinding T2 for so long, take their first win in EML.
That's what you want to see, and unsurprisingly, Teb's out with the flag. We've seen that one before. Great performance, and for both teams, Tim, a really impressive first display. Lots to talk about from this game, I'm sure. So let's go to our break. I'll go to our desk, sorry, and they'll break it down for you after a short break.